go. What I want to talk to you about today is your legacy is Rotary's promise to the world. And I'd like to start by introducing a video of what Rotary views you as. Barbara, there's no sound with it, but that's okay. They can read it.
You'll need it for the other one. You need the sound.
Thank you. That is a short video, and the next video, there will be another short video in a moment. But just want to remind everyone that your gifts to the Rotary Foundation and Endowment Fund makes a difference in the future. The big difference between annual giving and the endowment fund is the annual giving fund is spent every year on the 6 areas of focus, and now we're adding the 7th area of focus on the environment. And as I mentioned before, the guidelines for it will come out later next month, and we will share those with you when they're available. We do require district and global grants must follow the 6 areas of focus. Arch Klump said, tomorrow depends upon what we do today. And in that regard, what we do today can make a big difference in the world tomorrow. And the Rotary Endowment Fund, those funds are never, ever spent. Kind of look at the annual fund as eating the apple off of the tree. The endowment fund is kind of like an apple orchard. We plant an apple tree like Johnny Appleseed did, and that apple tree every year returns the fruit to be enjoyed and consumed. And the endowment fund returns only the earnings. The principal is never, ever spent and can live forever, which is something we as individuals can't do. And I career as an embalmer and funeral director. They told me at that time, the funeral director I worked for said, you know what, caskets don't come with trailers. You can't take it with you. And urns from cremation, you don't have room in there for anything else. So you can't take it with you. What I'd like to do now is share with you a short video of 2 scenes. First is a granddaughter and her grandfather being Johnny Appleseed, planting that apple tree. And the next scene is years later, that granddaughter coming back to that apple tree, picking the apples with her son. Roll the video.
You're a Leewood. You know what that means?
We work hard and we give back.
You know, someday this apple tree will be bigger than I am. We're leaving the future behind today. You'll see.
Giving to Rotary's endowment ensures life-changing programs will benefit generations to come. Your legacy is Rotary's promise.
You know, planning a gift to Rotary's endowment supports the same life-changing programs forever. The principal is never, ever spent by the foundation. It is the earnings from the endowment fund that comes back to our district every year for use in grants. Next slide. Again, I like to look at the endowment fund as an apple orchard. We plant that tree and we can go back to it every year and pick the fruit from it. The future of our foundation depends upon the endowment fund's success in the future. Today, we have about $2 billion in the endowment fund through promises to give. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how we can do those promises. Next slide. Through the 6 areas of focus, we do good in the world. And again, adding the 7th one this coming year to the areas of focus of the environment gives us a great way to give to the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Foundation Endowment, next slide. I'd like to talk about $25,000 gift to everybody. I think this is something that is eminently achievable. How many of you own a home? Show me your hands. If you own a home, you own a property that in South Florida is valued somewhere between about $200,000 to $250,000 up to $1 million. And that's just the average home. When you pass away, as I told you before, you can't take it with you. And I like to use the $25,000 gift and an endowment as an example for many reasons. It returns about $1,000 a year in spendable funds back to the district for use or to one of the areas of focus. At a gift of $25,000, when you pass away and you make an endowment pledge, that money can make you a Paul Harris Society member forever and ever, as long as the Rotary Foundation exists. That $25,000, if you sell your home and your estate has got a home worth somewhere between $250,000 and $1 million, $25,000 is a small commitment. I think we can all do that. And I made a pledge a long time ago, next slide, that I would never ask our Rotarians to do something that I haven't done, as I would never ask my subordinates when I was in law enforcement to do something I hadn't done. Our commitment to the Rotary legacy is a world fueled by compassionate leaders. That's you and I. We, the Rotary members of this district, we have an opportunity to build an endowment in this district through the Rotary Foundation that can last forever in perpetuity. Next slide. Each individual has a voice. There are people in Rotary who have done this. I'd like to share with you what Naomi Williams said. Through the endowment, each individual has a voice in Rotary's promise for a better world. Who is Naomi? Well, her husband was a leader. Next slide. Was a leader in our Rotary zone. D. Brent Williams was a mentor and a leader. He was a mentor to both Lee and I. Next slide. When he passed away, he left a legacy by his club doing a ice water bucket event where they dropped a bucket of ice water on somebody's head if they would give $1,000. He raised nearly $300,000 through that when he passed away early of Lou Gehrig's disease. Next slide. I'd like to share with you Robin and Susan Shelley. Robin is on this call with us this morning, and Robin gave me permission for me to talk about him and this. Robin and Susan made a commitment to the Rotary Foundation Endowment Fund by giving a cash donation and becoming an Arch Clump Society member. This is a picture of Robin and Susan with then president of Rotary on the right and the manager of the Rotary Foundation on the left for their induction into the Hall of Fame. And their picture and information will be forever enshrined at Rotary headquarters, as will anyone who becomes an Arch Clump Society member. And I'd like to share with you what Robin told me about why he chose Rotary. He chose Rotary because he wanted to do it while he was still living, and he believed in Rotary, and he knew how Rotary spent its money, and he wanted to do what he thought was the right thing in the future. Thank you, Robin, and I would encourage anyone to give Robin a call. He'll be glad to talk to you, and I will also, about how you can accomplish this. Next slide. As I told you, Lee and I said that we would never do anything or ask anybody to do something that we hadn't done. And as that, we are both members of the Rotary Foundation Bequest Society. We're both major donors, and we have made our bequest. Next slide. This is an example of a report that comes back to our district every year. I've removed the names because some donors to protect their identity. But you can see one donor on the top line gave a gift of over $1 million. That $1 million returns about $25,000 a year. And if that person, however, donated their funds to go to the World Fund. We have another large donator on line 2 who became an Arch Clump Society member, and those funds went to annual giving, and they all came back 3 years later. The fourth line is another $1 million donor who has shared their donation coming back in district designated funds to our district, and that's $25,000 every year, and that will happen as long as the foundation exists. The last one is a small donation, and I will tell you that Lee and I are going to increase our endowment, and hopefully we will become Arch Clump Society members. when we pass away, so that the Rotary Foundation can continue to live and provide the necessary funds. The future of the Rotary Foundation is the endowment fund. Remember, it is the endowment fund that the funds are never spent, only the earnings. I'd like to come to your club, talk to your club about this and how you can do it, even though you think you can't right now. Believe me, if you have to sell your estate when you pass, a very small amount is $25,000. There'll still be a lot left for your family and descendants. So I encourage you to look at this and see what you think you can do. And remember, your future with Rotary and your endowment can be shared. And I'm holding up now a very simple, I don't know whether you can see it or not, form. It is number 330EN. You can download it from DACDB. It's there under district files, secure files, or you can download it from the Rotary Foundation online on My Rotary. It's a simple one-page, fill out the form, make your promise for the future, build your legacy, and change the world. Thank you for listening, and I'm willing to come to your club and talk about it.
Thank you, Elihu. I will say this, later in a couple more things, Joe's going to talk about the $1 Million Dinner. Peter's been pushing this. Endowment is a great way of getting to our $1 Million Dinner. I mean, if somebody just wants to leave $50,000 when they die by way of an IRA or insurance policy or their will or their trust, and it goes into the endowment fund and they designate share, then the income off that, figure $2,000, will fund one maximum district grant forever in this district, forever, okay? So it matters, and it's a way of not only getting to Governor Peters' goal, but also helping the district be able to fund these grants in perpetuity forever. So it's really important, and thank you, Elihu, for the presentation.